Shalom. I'm going to start off source by giving all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushua, Ba'Shem, Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles of great Most, and honors to you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, of whom the world ignorantly calls God, Jehovah, or Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh. His son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushua, meaning in, meaning down, Sham, meaning names Yahweh, and the name of Yahweh Shai. Real quick. Just wanted to touch on this quote, right? Because you hear Rome wasn't built in a day, which is basically talking about perseverance and stuff like that. I believe the full quote, when I looked at it, was Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks by the hour. That's when I was basically saw that one when I was basically putting this lesson together. But Spirit had it whereby when I looked at this the other day. Right, I was basically watching a clip of sayings, the full sayings, like for instance, curiosity killed the cat, where that's like half the saying. It's like curiosity killed the cat, but something else brought it back. Blood is thicker than water, which that's a complete bastardization. It's like the blood of the covenant. It goes on, right? And one of the things that they mentioned was Rome wasn't built in a day, but it burned in one, right? Which, according to this website, is attributed to John Hayward, right? Whether he knew that he was, prophesying or not, that's that's one thing or another, right? But we understand that, America is modern day Rome, okay? Pursuant to the precept and just pursuant to everything that you see, right? You see that the architecture, the things that they were doing in Rome, right? So I'll just look for something, right? The things that they were doing in Rome, right? And then the things that are the architecture things that we're doing in Rome, things that you see happening now, right? Whether it be Lupercalia, i.e. Valentine's Day, whether it be all of these other stuff, right? But let's grab this. Revelation 13:3, right? It says, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast," right? And it's referring to how the Roman Empire was fallen, but then it was raised back up, right, as the Neo-Roman Empire, right, which is America. Okay, and once again, that's what you see, right? And we jump down to the 12th verse, right? It says, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed," right? Once again, the power of the first beast, referring to the Roman Empire, right? Ancient Roman Empire. So America is Rome, and it. See if I can find that. I ain't ever gonna find that one from that. Actually, is it the one? Yes. Slug, spare me. Just looking for a preset. Yep. Says that's the one. Revelation 17:11 says, "And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition," right? This is beast that was and is not, referring to Roman Empire, right, which came back in the reincarnation as America. The eighth and is of the seven. America came out of the British Empire, which is of the seven, right, going into perdition. America will be destroyed, right, which allows us to go back to this quote here: Rome wasn't built in a day, but it burned in one, right? Whether this individual, whether he was trying to refer to how through Nero, right, which as the apostles say, we believe that this guy Trump is Nero coming back in the reincarnation, whether he just John Hayward character was referring to how Nero burned ancient Rome, right, or whether he knew it or not, was prophesying, right? Because we understand through the precepts that America will be destroyed, right, and will be destroyed in 1 hour, not even one day, but in 1 hour, right, which is beautiful, because he's spent all of this time, several hundred years, to try and get together his enterprise, the Lord is going to bring it down in about a moment, right? So I'm just going to read through Revelation 18, right? See where the Spirit leads, right? It says, and after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird, right? So after America is destroyed, only scavengers will inhabit the land, right? Those representing spirits. Read some of these precepts, right? Isaiah 34:11. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion. Basically, you ain't gonna know where one state ends and another begins, right? And the stone of emptiness, right? And Isaiah 34. Goes into also the destruction of America, right? This destruction that is nigh upon us, right? Jeremiah 50:12, right? It says, another chapter going into that. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded, right? Referring to Great Britain. It says, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nation shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Right, because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Right. In Isaiah 13:19, right, it says, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherd make their fold there. So you ain't gonna be having Ishmaelites on the street corners trying to sell you some dodgy stuff, right? America is going to be destroyed, and no one's going to live there ever again, right? It says verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the Revelation 18:3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy, right? And drunk, basically going into how not drunk with alcohol, right, but drunk with philosophies, right? In precept to Isaiah 29:9 and 10, right, it says, stay yourselves and wonder, cry out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Lord Yahweh hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers hath he covered. Okay. And then let's get back, right? Verse 4 says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, right? Come out of her spiritually, right? And that ye receive not of her plagues, right? Plagues, going into that nuclear destruction, man. Zechariah 14:12, right? And then the elect are going to be basically abducted, if you will, right, from this land, right? We're going to be caught up with the Lord in the air, which is what this precept's going into. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17. So for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High, and the dead of Mashiach shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. Okay, so it goes on to say, for her sins, right, have reached unto heaven, right, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities, right? And that's kind of like twofold. You got the saying, up to high heaven, but also he's just gone up and he's polluted the heavens. He's done this, that, and the other. Okay. It says, verse 6 says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled to her double. Okay, and that double is a metaphorical double. Okay, it's not a thing where people, just if he hit you once when you was in captivity, you're gonna hit him twice. No, if he hits you once, right, you can give him a kick up his ass, man. Okay, so that's it. The Lord is gonna give us dominion over these heathens, right? Let's just jump over to that real quick. It's Revelation 2:25, right? But that which he hath already, hold fast till I come, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. Okay, so carrying on back in Revelation 18:7, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, I'm no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? And yeah, the elites of Esau have lived deliciously. Okay. And that when you look at that last bit, that pride where America hasn't really been touched, right? Which is why you precept it to Isaiah 47:8, right? America really hasn't been touched, hasn't known loss like other nations have known loss. Okay, the Lord is going to bring all of that to America, right? Verse 8 says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. Okay, talking, you going into famine, right? Because that's one of the things that is going to come. The Lord's going to bring a hell of a lot of plagues, right? In these last days, man, right? Those going to bring a hell of a lot of plagues, and that final plague is going to be those nukes, right? I was trying to think because I know it's in 2 Ezra 16. Whoa. Right, 2 Ezra 16 from 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, right? So Ezra, he's like, yo, man, oh, damn, right? It says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation, anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. Okay, so the Lord is gonna basically send all of these for amendment. But then I'm gonna jump up to verse 16 now, right? So like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, right? Even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again, right? So when the Lord basically starts firing, right, these plagues ain't gonna come back. All right, and I'm gonna jump up again, right? Verse 13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows that he shooteth a shot and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world, right? Which that's that final plague, right? Those ICBM nuclear missiles, which the Lord is going to use against America, right? Verse 9, right? Revelation 18:9, right? It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament her, right? When they shall see the smoke of her burning, right? Destruction of America will be televised, right? And this is it. Like, for instance, I love aviation, something I loved from when I was a young child, right? Wanted to be a pilot, when I was little. So all things aviation I love, right? And one of the things I saw recently, right, was the Boeing's just released was a 777X. Would you call it 777X? What's the name? A private jet, right? You brothers can look that up in your leisure, man, right? This is, let me open image and you let me bring it here, right? And then when I was watching the video, imagine this on a plane, right? 777X, right? Private jet, right? This is what they're basically proposing, right? And then when they're basically talking about how this is aimed for your Arabian elites, right? Because this jet is like $500 million. Okay, so when you're seeing this precepts like this, talking about the kings of the earth who have lived deliciously with her, right? That's an example, right? I don't know about you, but this looks like living hella deliciously to me, right? So that's it, right? These different nations, man, they go mourn when America is brought up out of it, right? You look into the history of the House of Saud, right? Some of these other get-ups, right? He's got his hands all up in there, right? And has allowed certain of these nations to get into the position, certain of these people to get into certain positions that they're in. Okay, so let's carry on, right? As Revelation 18:10 says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all theine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble, right? It says, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men, right? Right, souls of men, those that have sold out, man, right? It says, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and they shall find them no more. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, right? Right, because imagine you have this cash cow, and that cash cow is gone, right? This is verse 16, right? It says, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed with fine linen, right, and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones, right, and pearls, right? For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, right? And that's it, literally in 1 hour, right? So when you go back to this say, right, when this individual knew what it was that they were saying, right, it is still a true saying, right? It wasn't built in a day, but it certainly is going to burn in one. Okay, it's going to burn in 1 hour. Okay, so it says, and that's it, right? So all of these different nations, they're going to be standing and they're watching, and it's like their cash cow is gone. Okay, their cash cow is gone. Like, yeah, ever seen someone who's, like film someone who's put all their money on a particular, let's say a particular boxer, and that boxer loses, right? You see the anguish on the person that's bet it all, right? They'd be crying, not because they care that much about that the boxers lost, but more because they're thinking about their money, right? And that's why these nations gonna be sad, man, right? Because they're gonna be like, shit, all our money. Okay, let's carry on, right? So it says, and cried, Revelation 18 and 18, it says, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, right, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein we were made rich, all that had ships in the sea by reason of our costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate, right? And that's it, a lot of nations were made rich because of America. Okay, and for us, right, we're like F America, man, and everything that it stands for, right? We can't wait for the Lord to bring judgment upon that place. All right, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. Right, so the Most High, by bringing America down, right, is basically going to that's going to be an avengement for us, right? Which is why we're like, yo, hey, Lord Baba Kashab, make haste, right? Bring this place down, right? It says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all, right? Which once again, it's poetic because America was founded upon violence. So it's great that it's going to be taken down upon violence, taken down with violence, okay? Right, it says, and shall be found no more at all, and the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be no more heard at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of the prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Okay, so just wanted to go into that. Like I said, I found this this adaptation, if you will, of this quote, rather interesting, right? Because when we understand the precepts, we understand that this is exactly what is going to happen. America is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. Okay, so as always, Lord's all that was edifying. Till next time, we say Shalom.